Welcome to the Bentonville Beacon podcast, where we're sharing stories and advice from the entrepreneurs, business executives, and community leaders, sparking the rise of the greater Bentonville area, which represents one of the fastest growing and most dynamic cities and economies in the United States, and is nestled in the Ozark Mountains of Northwest Arkansas in the heartland of America. Hey, I'm your host, James Bell, and today I'm excited to welcome Mayor John Flynn to the studio. Mayor Flynn leads the city of Bella Vista and is only the third mayor in Bella Vista's history. He brings a unique blend of experience from his diverse background in law, education, and public service. His journey from being a corporate counsel to professor at the University of Arkansas to leading one of Northwest Arkansas's most picturesque and evolving cities is a testament to his vision and willingness to lead at the capacity that he's most needed in at a given time and place. Bella Vista has a rich history, and just a couple of years ago began the transformation from a retirement community to a full-fledged city known for its scenic beauty, outdoor activities, and growing community spirit. Mayor Flynn's leadership is pivotal in guiding and shaping Bella Vista's future as the city continues to grow. Mayor Flynn, welcome to the Bentonville Beacon podcast.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here.
Glad to have you. Would you like to, or would you share with our audience what you would like them to know about you?
Oh, sure. I'd be happy to tell you a little about my background. I'm married. I have 3 adult children that live in other places. I was a corporate attorney for over 30 years, and I was general counsel of 3 different corporations and on the legal staff at 2 Fortune 500 corporations. So I retired. I should mention I first came to Northwest Arkansas in 1996. I was living in Rogers and came down to be general counsel of Daisy, the BB gun company, which a lot of folks here are familiar with, obviously. So I retired in 2011, and that's when I started teaching at University of Arkansas, and I was teaching business law and finance, and it was in the Master's of Science Operations Management program. So I really enjoyed that. You know, it kept me in touch with younger people. That particular program is actually the largest graduate school, University of Arkansas. It has 500-some students, nice. And the average age is 34. So a lot of them are people that are working. A lot of them are people who came here from other countries. And so it was a really fun experience. And, because it's graduate school, it's smaller classes, usually be 10 to 15 students, and really enjoyed that. So while I was doing that, I got on city council in Bella Vista. And I was on city council for 8 years. And, of course, you get to know what's going on and kind of be interested in it. So then I made the decision to, when our mayor, Peter Christie, was retiring, I made the decision to run for mayor. And when I was successful at that was a year ago, I got off some of these other things, teaching and some of the other things, to be able to devote full time to being the mayor.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What motivated you to serve in the first place, to serve on city council, to run for mayor?
Well, I always, once I retired, I really wanted to do things that were different from what I've done. And I tried to do things that would utilize my background in law and finance. And so, the public service seemed like a natural fit. And I really enjoyed being on city council. Of course, it's a lot different. It's very part-time, and being mayor is very full-time. So I knew it'd be a big transition, and really have enjoyed it, though. Enjoy working with the people there. We've got a great group of employees and people in the city. In Bella Vista lately, I think the attitude's very positive, and people really feel very good about it. And, it was really interesting. Anybody you meet who moved there in the last 2 or 3 years, I always like to say they're just over the moon. They just love it. And if they're from California, they're straight up ecstatic. Because I think it's about the quality of life for the price. The quality of life in Northwest Arkansas has gotten so high, and it's still relatively reasonable compared to a lot of places. So it's kind of a neat thing.
Yeah, you betcha. I know a lot of people who have moved here and moved to Bella Vista or in the area that have moved to Bella Vista, and everybody absolutely loves it. And I think ecstatic is the right way to describe people, the way people feel about it too. You've had this varied career before entering politics. We talked about teaching in law. How have those experiences influenced you as mayor?
Well, I think it's had a good effect. I think it's been positive. One of the things happened on when I was in my legal career, I became general counsel. So you'd be in all the executive type meetings and, got a good view of how the financial side of things worked and the management side. And so it gave me a really good idea. I like to say everything that comes up in the city is either legal or financial. So it gave me a good background from that point of view. And the teaching, you've practiced law for a lot of years and you really obviously know things in your specialty real well, but the teaching really causes you to focus on the fundamentals, and both in law and finance, I think was good for me because you're also teaching kind of all areas, not just one little specialty area. And I thought it was good for me for getting a good overall focus. So
that makes sense. I too have taught in a graduate program. I taught in an MBA program at Christian Brothers University in Memphis, and I found exactly the same thing. It really forces you to focus on the fundamentals. What I taught was the capstone course for the MBA program, and sometimes I realized how much of the foundational stuff that I wasn't thinking about each day about the fundamentals. And so I really loved that period in time and teaching that.
Yeah.
Bella Vista has this unique history, starting off as a summer recreation resort and then transitioning from a retirement community to a full-fledged city. Will you share that fascinating history with our audience more about it?
Oh, sure. Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up because when I was on city council, I thought, well, it'd be good to know the history of the city to see how we got where we are. And so I was a volunteer at the Bella Vista Historical Museum, and I was on the board of directors there also. And they have a great group. They're a volunteer group. The folks that are leading it are just terrific. And but it really caused you to figure out every little thing about the history. It started really, the modern history started in 2015 when actually a minister from Bentonville had the idea, started a resort, and they did dam up Lake Bella Vista at that time. And then he found it was a little too much, and in 2017, he turned it over to the Linebarger brothers. It was three brothers they'd come to Bella Vista on vacation when they were younger, and they had started a community down in Texas, a planned community. And so they thought they'd start one here. This was in 2017, and it was all summer cottages, and it was all around that Lake Bella Vista area. And it's really fascinating to see some of the things they did. They were really pretty ambitious about it. But, they had the lake. And then later on, they actually opened up Wonderland Cave, and they used to have bands in there. It was a big band music era in the 1930s. And they had a fairly famous hotel up there on the overlooking the lake. So it was really kind of interesting to see all the different things they did, but it was totally a summer thing. It would be people from Little Rock and Oklahoma and Texas, and sometimes they'd have the family come up for the whole summer, and the dad would just, come up a few times on the weekend and whatnot. He'd still be back working, back in wherever they're from. So it was, and, back then, in 1917, early 1920s, you had to be somewhat affluent to have a car and be able to drive, have a second place on the weekend and things like that. So that's how it all got started. And then fast forward to 1965, that's when John Cooper came, and he decided to start the modern Bella Vista development. And he was extremely ambitious. During the time he was over it, they had 7 lakes and 7 golf courses. He developed all that. Because the only lake at the time was Lake Bella Vista. He started all the other lakes from scratch and all the golf courses. And it was just amazing, really, what he did development-wise. And he has over 500 miles of roads. Bella Vista actually has more roads even than Little Rock.
That's amazing.
He was maybe a little over-ambitious with the roads because some of them weren't even populated with any houses or anything. But it's fascinating to drive around and see the topography and how he made the roads blend with the ridge line, and try to figure out the easiest way through. So, I joke most places you go and people brag about living on a cul-de-sac. And in Bella Vista, there's hundreds of cul-de-sacs. Almost everybody's on one. So.
Sure. Yeah, that's really cool. I love driving around Bella Vista. We've driven around a lot of the neighborhoods as we look at houses and things like that. But it's such a cool community. And I didn't realize it had more roads than Little Rock. That's amazing. Wow. Well, it's a neat way to live. As only the 3rd mayor in Bella Vista's history, Mayor, what's your vision and your main priorities for shaping Bella Vista's future?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. Actually, I moved up to Bella Vista in 2005 from Rogers. And so I've been able to observe the entire time as a city. It started January 1, 2007 when it started as a city. And, it's continued to grow, I think, in a successful way. And for the future, it certainly appears we're going to continue to have growth, and that's actually not going to be a problem. I'm kind of looking to have controlled growth and maybe even keep from growing too fast.
Sure.
We'd like to develop the commercial side a little bit more. Bella Vista's always lagged a little bit on the commercial side. And with the way the finances are set up in Arkansas, the sales tax is very important. So we'd like to develop a little more on the commercial side, but just to continue to grow. And there's 2 or 3 things I had in mind in particular. One was we need to move a little more to sewer from septic. We have 3,700 houses on sewer, and there's 11,000 on septic. So as we get bigger, we're going to have to transition a little more in that direction. Second thing is I'd like to have some a little better what they call connectivity, and that is the ability to walk or ride your bike to places. We have great mountain biking situation. We have over 100 miles, actually, of soft surface trails. We've got some hard surface trails, but as of a year or 2 ago, we had 5 miles of sidewalk. And when you have 550 miles of roads, that's not enough. So we're trying to develop a little more of that where people can walk. We have some nice places where you can go for a walk, but where people can walk or ride their bike to places, from point A to point B, so to speak. And, of course, the nice thing about this area is there's people in Bentonville and in northwest Arkansas who are very interested in connectivity. Walmart's been encouraging their employees to ride to work, and they have a goal, I think, of having 10% of their employees ride their bikes to work. And there are a few people from Bella Vista doing that now, and I think we can, we're moving in a direction to be able to get even more of that with the trail and whatnot, and encourage that kind of activity.
Yeah, you bet. You're right. Connectivity is a huge want and desire for people all across Northwest Arkansas. I think it's neat that you can hop on trails and ride from Bella Vista all the way to Fayetteville using the Greenway for a good bit of the distance. But I think Gary Vernon was speaking with him, and he talked about riding from his home in Bella Vista to downtown Bentonville and basically using mostly trails to get to work. And what a neat experience that was.
Yeah, so, that is good.
Yeah, when you had more sidewalks and such, that's going to really make things even better. Septic to sewer, that's going to be a fun experience.
Yeah, that's a big challenge. Right now, we have lines that go to some areas. And so when you sell your house, you have to hook up on the line. But we need to get the lines run to more locations so that it's available for more folks. So,
yeah. You bet. Well, Mayor, Northwest Arkansas is truly a unique region, starting at perhaps Fayetteville to Springdale, Rogers, Bentonville, up to Bella Vista. You have this stretch along Interstate 49 that is, I would call, at the heart of the region. In fact, you might think of it in and of itself as a city and these different towns as being the neighborhoods of that city, of a mid-sized city, and having their own distinct characters and personalities about them. How do you see Bella Vista's personality and how it fits into the Northwest Arkansas and greater Bentonville area?
Well, that's a good question. It's interesting that you characterize Northwest Arkansas that way, because when I lived here, that's the way I always thought of it.
Sure.
As one big area, and they certainly do have their distinctive characteristics. But I think in the case of Bella Vista, of course, in 1965, John Cooper started it as a retirement community, and a lot of people still think of it that way. But really, over the years, it's morphed into kind of a combination of that and a bedroom suburb.
Sure. Because
so many people are going into town working at Walmart or J.B. Hunt or Tyson's or, some of the many other businesses, a lot of the vendors and whatnot, obviously. So we have an awful lot of people working at those folks and living in Bella Vista. And the trails has had an effect of making Bella Vista a bit younger, too. We're actually to the point now where our retirees are under 30% of the population.
Wow.
And in Arkansas in general, the average city, 21% of the population is retirees. So we're actually kind of falling in the direction of the average. And the trails have made a big difference. We have younger folks moving here specifically because of the trails from other places in the country. And that's kind of neat to see. So, I don't think that's a problem, the blend. I think it's great to have, we still have a vibrant golf community. On the other hand, now we have a vibrant trails community. And, just to have a lot of different outdoor activities, we've become, whether on purpose or just developed that way, we've become quite an outdoor recreational area. And Bella Vista certainly got a lot of outdoor recreational opportunities. We've got the 7 lakes, we've got the golf courses, tennis courts, and pickleball, and just all kinds of different things going on. So it's caused the population to be kind of an interesting blend, and I think it's very, very healthy mix. Yeah,
so. I think so, and I talk with a lot of people who moved to Bella Vista specifically for the reason you said, to trails. People who love to ride mountain bikes or people who just like to get out and hike. And they discover Bella Vista, and that's exactly the reason they moved there. And you guys are building so many trails are being built there or present now and being built there. I kind of look at if Bentonville is the mountain biking capital of the world, I think Bella Vista is Trail City, USA.
Yeah.
That's the way I've come to think of it.
Yeah.
You mentioned trails, you mentioned sewer, and such. What are some of the other developments happening in Bella Vista right now that you want folks to know about?
So, right now we have a lot of different things going on. One thing that's happening is we have pretty strong possibility of having a charter school. Bentonville and Rogers have gotten an influx of, Northwest Arkansas in general, I think, has gotten an influx of charter schools. And we're in the process of getting one lined up on the west side of Bella Vista in the Gravitt school system. And the fact that 49 bypass swung out around the western portion of Bella Vista is affecting the folks. We're getting more younger people on the west side because it was easy to commute in from the east side. Mm-hmm. Plus, we had an elementary school on the east side. And a little more, if you get farther out west, it was a little more of a struggle to get in. And now with that bypass going out there, and if we get a charter school going over there, I think it's really going to make a big difference in the age over on the west side of town. Right now, our median age is down around 50, mm-hmm. and it's been dropping pretty steadily for a while. And in particular on the west side, I think between the freeway and if we get a charter school going there, I think that's going to be a positive change. So.
Yeah, that interstate is, I think it's doing a lot for this area. That connection. I think it's really interesting that you had this connection at the Arkansas-Missouri border that for the longest time wasn't connected. And it's only been, a couple of years now since that connection
was
made.
Completed. Yeah. I was there the day they had the ribbon cutting. And the governor of Arkansas was there and the governor of Missouri. And there was quite a crowd. They had it out there actually on the freeway and near the borderline. And some folks who were there are still joking about it because there was a lot of dignitaries there and no one brought us scissors. So
you should have invited the chamber.
I guess
we would have remembered the scissors.
Each governor thought the other one had a scissors, I guess. I think they had to use a razor blade or something, or somebody had a pocket knife. But anyway.
That's great. Well, I'm sure there must have been some of the construction folks out there. So surely one of them had a pocket knife.
Yeah, there you go.
That's pretty funny. Well, I work for the Greater Bentonville Area Chamber of Commerce, as you know, and certainly we could have brought some scissors, some giant, the big chamber scissors.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I've heard some really interesting stories about how it came about that segment was completed and finally paid for that I think are real neat and maybe a subject for another time. But now you get this interstate that extends from Kansas City to Fort Smith and will eventually connect from Fort Smith to all the way to Mexico and from Kansas City all the way to Canada.
Yeah.
And so it's going to bring so much more to this area. I mean, Interstate 49, when it was built, really spurred a lot of our growth. So I can't wait to see what more happens.
Yes.
Mayor Flynn, my family's looking at houses. Give me your best pitch for Bella Vista.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I think one of the pluses of Bella Vista is it has a relaxed atmosphere, maybe a little less hustle bustle than some of the other communities. And so it can be nice and quiet and relaxing. And I think the trees and lakes and whatnot just create a nice natural atmosphere. And people up there really like the environment. So I'd say that's one of the things that's a real plus to it.
Absolutely. Well, that's a big reason that Bella Vista is on our list of places that we're looking at and been driving around and looking at houses at. Will you talk about, we've talked about lakes and golf courses and how beautiful Bella Vista is. Will you talk about some of the experiences that people can have there, or specifically maybe some of the places that people should see in Bella Vista if they haven't been?
Oh, sure. Yeah. One of the key places in Bella Vista is Mildred B. Cooper Chapel.
It's beautiful.
Which, of course, was done by Faye Jones, and is a real popular place for weddings. But you can go there just to, at any time, really, during the day, any day, and just to see it. It's very relaxing and peaceful, and it's not far from the center of town. It's easy to get to, and that's probably one of the number one places. Another one that has come on strong the last few years is they created a Veterans Memorial Wall, and people can, if they have a relative that's a veteran, they can buy a stone. And they just did a really nice job the way they prepared that. It was started, I think, around the year 2000, and it's grown pretty well. And it also isn't too far from 71, and it's become something of a landmark. A lot of people come from out of town to visit it and whatnot. Another thing is, speaking of Fay Jones, is the country club was started in the 1960s, and that was kind of a famous building done by Fay Jones also. It's still in operation. It's got a golf course, but the building itself is quite elaborate. It has a great view. When you get up there on the balcony in the restaurant area, you can look out over the course and whatnot. It's really attractive. So other than that, I think a lot of people, just the various trails. There's a lot of trails for hiking or biking, whichever you like, and some of the lakes and whatnot, and a lot of nice trails just to hike on and enjoy the outdoors.
Love it. Well, that's a great pitch. Mayor, will you tell me a story? And normally I'm asked this as a hashtag because Bentonville story, but today, of course, I'm going to modify it. Will you tell me a hashtag because Bella Vista story? And this is a moment or something that happened where you look back at it and you think, I think that could only happen here.
Okay.
Or describes the essence of the place.
Well, I had a interesting personal experience there. In 1999, my wife and I got married in Cooper Chapel, and
Wow.
we had a lot of relatives come from out of town. It's just a very beautiful setting. And my sister and brother-in-law were living in California in Sonoma, which is quite a neat place in wine country. And they just raved about Bella Vista and just were very impressed with it. And a few years later, they ended up moving here. We didn't realize how impressed they were. So that always kind of stands out for me, sticks in my mind as a special event that occurred.
Yeah, it is a neat place when people come and visit and they go, that's it, I'm moving.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. See, that's the way you get family nearby. If you want them nearby, right? is you just invite them to visit. They'll come back. What's something as we wind down into sort of the final chapter of this show, Mayor Flynn, what is something that you would like people to know about Bella Vista or your role as mayor, something you wish that people knew?
Oh, okay. Well, just that we're very welcoming, and I feel like it's a special place. And, one of the things I always think about the things there are to do. Oh, you could play golf, or you could go on the trails, or you could go to Cooper Chapel. But most people move from out of town. The thing they comment on is how friendly and welcoming the people are. Mm-hmm. Some towns you come to and they're kind of like, oh, where are you from? And it takes you 20 years to be accepted, and they're kind of insular. And, Bella Vista, because of the way it developed and everybody's from somewhere else, people are very welcoming and very open. They ask you where you're from, and they're not going to be mad at you no matter what you say. Mm-hmm. Any answer is okay.
That's exactly right.
And lately what's happening is we're getting a lot of people from California and Texas. And a third place we're starting to see a lot is Colorado. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting to see. We have a newcomers event every 3 months, and the head of the POA speaks, and I speak, and it's really well run. It's actually a kind of a grassroots thing. Just regular folks in the community started it. And we get 50 to 75 people, and, they kind of learn about kind of where everything is and how you sign up for this and that and all that kind of stuff. And that's where one place where we see where people are from, and we really notice those particular places. But historically, one thing fascinates me is historically Cooper, I guess recruited, you'd say, advertised a lot in the upper Midwest. Mm-hmm. So Nebraska, Iowa, Wisconsin. I still meet more, retirees-wise, I meet more people from Iowa and Wisconsin than anywhere else. But so historically, Cooper recruited from there, and years ago they stopped doing that. And people still come from there. It's kind of word of mouth because of other relatives or people they know. So that kind of fascinates me that you still get people from those places. But of course, as far as the younger folks that are working for Walmart or whatever, they could be from anywhere. I mean, it's just, how it is when you're changing jobs or whatever. You could, come from all kinds of different places. So it's kind of nice just that people are so welcoming. And it's something you almost take for granted until somebody from the outside comes here and mentions it to you,
That's true. I've lived all over the country and traveled all over the country, and a lot of places people are friendly, but they're not welcoming. And there really is a difference, and I think it's a neat experience for folks when they get to experience it for many times the first time.
Yeah.
When they come here.
Yeah.
As we wrap up, I have a couple of questions for you. One's kind of a whimsical question, and the other one's an advice question.
Okay.
The whimsical question. Let's start with the fun one. Bella Vista is already a magical place. If you could add one fantastical, magical element to it, what would it be?
Okay. Well, I'm not sure this is so fantastical, but I think the one thing would be nice to add would be a really nice, small, doesn't necessarily have to be gigantic, but really nice hotel. We have a lot of short-term rentals. And in fact, we have over 500 short-term rentals. A lot of people like to come and stay in Bella Vista. But I think it'd be nice to have a really quality hotel. And that's kind of a goal of ours, I guess, to get that going. There's some nice hotels in Northwest Arkansas, but not in Bella Vista yet. So we'd like to cure that problem.
Isn't that interesting? I didn't realize that there wasn't a hotel there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's work on that.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. And with your knowledge and experience as mayor, it would be a real miss if I didn't ask you an advice question. So I think the question I'm going to ask you is advice, but it's a call to action too.
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you give to residents who want to become more involved in local government? And how can Bella Vista's residents get involved right now? What should they be involved in right now?
Well, that is a good question. One thing you notice when you're in local government is that most people don't pay much attention to it. And I have to admit, when I was younger and working, I didn't spend a lot of time paying attention to it either. But you realize, man, they're really trusting me to run this city and they keep track of this budget and whatnot. And they aren't really paying attention. They're kind of putting their faith in you, which is a big responsibility. In some ways makes me feel good. They feel that way. But, I think if you just came to some council meetings or came to some council work sessions or some planning commission meetings, and a lot of them nowadays they're on film and you can watch them live or on tape. If you just watched a little bit and saw what was going on, and maybe you can see ways you can get involved. And we do have a lot of different committees and whatnot, advisory committees. And some folks find that a lot of fun to get involved in those kind of things. It kind of gets you more realizing what's going on, and you have an opportunity to give advice, to like we have a arts council, and we have we started a new committee, which actually hasn't quite started yet, but it's quite popular. It's a Trails Advisory Board, Active Transportation Advisory Board,
Very
I think
nice.
they call it. And active transportation, of course, as you know, means walking and biking and that sort of thing. And there's quite a few people interested in that. So there's things like that you can get, sign up and get involved in, put your 2 cents worth in, even how things can be done. So yeah, that would be the advice I'd give.
Excellent. Well, there's your job audience. If you are a resident of Bella Vista, these are ways you can get involved right now. And hey, you just might meet some new friends. So it'll be a lot of fun. Mayor, I have one last question for you.
Okay.
What's a question I should have asked you that I did not ask?
Well, let me think about that for a minute. Well, there's always things you can go into as far as, I guess the main area would be getting more business in the community and how we can get more business in to help with the sales tax and things like that. So we are hoping to get something going in that area. And I don't know if everyone's aware, but, Walton-related entities have been buying property in various places in Bella Vista when it comes up for sale. So I think they're taking an interest in it, and I think that'll probably end up being helpful in the future.
Yeah.
So,
I'll be really interested in finding out what they plan to do. They always have the neatest projects.
Well, they seem to be such good corporate citizens and, trying to do the right thing and caring about the community and how things are. And I really admire that. We're fortunate in Northwest Arkansas. We've had a lot of good help from people, charitable type help, the Jones Center, different things historically around the Northwest Arkansas area. It's really admirable how people have tried to have a positive impact really on the community.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's, from what I can tell, it's been one of the big drivers behind the growth, right? Because they've mostly been focused on things that make life better, on quality of life.
Yeah.
Surprise, this thing that everybody talked about for several decades here in Northwest Arkansas, across all of the cities, we've actually been doing it.
Yeah.
Which has led to some significant growth. And then, of course, as you know, during the pandemic was like somebody dumped jet fuel on that growth, and it continues.
Yeah.
Mayor, thank you for sharing your time with me and with the Bentonville Beacon audience today. Really appreciate having you here in the studio and learning more about Bella Vista's history and about the things that you're working on and the developments that are happening there. And frankly, hearing your pitch for moving there, because we really are looking at houses, and Bella Vista really is one of the places that we're looking at. It's been great talking with you. Thank you for serving Bella Vista and the Northwest Arkansas community.
Well, thanks for asking me. I really enjoyed it, being on the program and being able to exchange ideas with you. It's really been fun.
Great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hey, to our Bentonville Beacon audience, thank you for sharing your time as well. Mayor Flynn's journey and the evolution of Bella Vista are vivid examples of the impact leadership and community spirit are having and driving our region. If you're moved by today's conversation, please share this episode with others. And remember to subscribe to the Bentonville Beacon on your favorite podcast platform or bentonvillebeacon.com. Check in with the show to stay updated with the stories of the remarkable individuals shaping the future of Greater Bentonville and Northwest Arkansas, where you get more of what you want and less of what you don't. And until next time, keep discovering, stay engaged, and celebrate the stories that make our community a vibrant place to live, work, and play. See you on the next episode.